Check, check.
Go somewhere else.
Can you say a little bit? Oh, I think it's just a little bit behind. Yeah, it's. Can you say a little bit?
Yeah, it's up. So
Do you know how to maybe we can work on this?
Your time. They will come. So we'll start. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya Aviravirmayedhi. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tam Agocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Let we be protected, let we be nourished, let we strive with energy and vigor. Let our study be enlightening and not give rise to hostility. Om peace, peace, peace. Lead us to truth and not to untruth. Lead us to enlightenment and not ignorance. Lead us to immortality and not death. Let the self-manifest Atman grow in me. Om peace, peace, peace. I bow to Govinda, whose nature is bliss supreme, who is the Sadguru, who can be known only from the import of all Vedanta, and who is beyond the reach of speech and mind. We are studying Vivekachudamani, the crest jewel of discrimination. So before we start, and this is very important section. So before we start, we'll ask David to read from the complete works of Swami Vivekananda.
A very similar conclusion has been arrived at by some Western philosophers, especially by Herbert Spencer and some other modern philosophers, when it is said that the same power which is manifesting itself in the flower is welling up in my own consciousness. It is the very same idea which the Vedantist wants to preach, that the reality of the external world and the reality of the internal world are one and the same. Even the ideas of the internal and external exist by differentiation and do not exist in the things themselves. For instance, if we develop another sense, the whole world will change for us, showing that it is the subject which will change the object. If I change, the external world changes. The theory of the Vedanta, therefore, comes to this, that you and I and everything in the universe are that absolute, not parts, but the whole. You are the whole of that absolute, and so are all others, because the idea of part cannot come into it. These divisions, these limitations, are only apparent, not in the thing itself. I am complete and perfect, and I was never bound, boldly preaches the Vedanta. If you think you are bound, bound you will remain. If you know that you are free, free you are. Thus the end and aim of this philosophy is to let us know that we have been free always and shall remain free forever. We never change, we never die, and we are never born. What are all these changes then? What becomes of this phenomenal world? This world is admitted as an apparent world, bound by time, space, and causation, and it comes to what is called the Vivartabhada in Sanskrit. Evolution of nature and manifestation of the Absolute. The Absolute does not change or re-evolve. In the little amoeba is that infinite perfection latent. It is called amoeba from its amoeba covering And from the amoeba to the perfect man, the change is not in what is inside. That remains the same, unchangeable. But the change occurs in the covering. There is a screen here and some beautiful scenery outside.
David, it requires a little explanation. Last time we talked about what is Vivartavad and what is Vikara. Vikarvad. Vikara means if something changes to something else, it cannot come back. But Vivartavad means when apparently it looks like it is changed, but in reality it is not changed. Suppose I have a beaker and I have a pencil. Pencil is straight. I put water in the beaker and I insert the pencil in that water. You can see the pencil is tilted, but in reality it is not tilted. It is because we see and there is refraction, and that is why it looks like tilted. Similarly, that which is the truth, that which we really are, appears as this world, but in reality it is not changed. It is all the time there. Another example we give that a lion cub was raised by a lamb, and right from the beginning it thought it was a lamb and it bleated, eat the grass. Though in reality it was not a lamb, it was a lion all the time. But because it was raised by lambs and he saw everybody was eating grass, bleating, so it started imitating that, and it thought that it was a lamb, but in reality it was a lion. Same thing happens. Something appears as different, but in reality it is not different. This is called Vivartavad. Another example is given. A rope looks like a snake, but when you examine, bring a light, you can see it is not a snake, it is a rope. So snakeness appeared on it, but in reality, all the time it was rope. So this world looks like this world. And when you are entangled in it, then you are suffering. Suffering, how suffering comes? When we are entangled. How entanglement comes? Because of our desires. We want to enjoy this world in various ways. And then our misery starts. So this is called Vivartavada, that there is no real change, but change is apparent. Let me read the same text second time. Even the ideas of the internal and external exist by differentiation and do not exist in the things themselves. Even nowadays, we have quantum theory. Quantum theory says we do not know what is there because it has many possibilities. Even we cannot know the speed and location at the same time. We do not know whether there is atom or not, because all the time it is changing. whatever changes is not real. But there is something which never changes. And that is the self. Self never changes. The self looks as body-mind complex, like pencil looks like tilted, but in reality it is not tilted. Similarly, we are all the time the self, which is absolute. And outside whatever we see, internally also, internal thinking, hesitating, worrying, anxiety, all kinds of things. These are also because of differentiation. Swamiji then says, do not exist in the things themselves. For instance, if we develop another sense, that means this world will look different. Swamiji's example is simpler. If we have another sense, we'll see this world in a different way. So, we do not know what is in nature. Whatever we understand this nature is our reading of the nature. We may think that somebody is enemy. It is because of our thinking. It's not in reality. It is God and God alone who pervades everywhere. So enmity, etc., that is in the person, in the thinking of the person. That you and I and everything in the universe are the absolute. In reality, we are absolute. Only manifestation is different. It's because of our desires, our thinking, because of our misunderstanding, not knowing things properly. So this is the reason why we see in different way. I am complete and perfect, and I was never bound. Boldly preaches the Vedanta. If you think you are bound, you will remain. If you know that you are free, you are. So this is how we are to assess ourselves. We have to find ourselves. And that will not come all of a sudden. One has to purify one's mind. Then only this manifestation will come. Yes, go ahead.
There is a screen here and some beautiful scenery outside. There is a small hole in the screen through which we can only catch a glimpse of it. Suppose this hole begins to increase. As it grows larger and larger, more and more of the scenery comes into view. And when the screen has vanished, we come face to face with the whole of the scenery. This scene outside is the soul, and the screen between us and the scenery is Maya, time, space, and causation. There is a little hole somewhere through which I can catch only a glimpse of the soul. When the hole is bigger, I see more and more. And when the screen has vanished, I know I am the soul. So changes in the universe are not in the absolute, they are in nature. Nature evolves more and more until the absolute manifests itself. In everyone it exists. In some it is manifested more than in others. The whole universe is really one. In speaking of the soul, to say that one is superior to another has no meaning. In speaking of the soul, to say that man is superior to the animal or the plant has no meaning. The whole universe is one. In plants, the obstacle to soul manifestation is very great. In animals, a little less, and in man, still less. In cultured spiritual men, still less, and in perfect men, it has vanished altogether. All our struggles, exercises, pains, pleasures, tears, and smiles, all that we do and think tend towards that goal. the tearing up of the screen, making the hole bigger, thinning the layers that remain between the manifestation and the reality behind. Our work, therefore, is not to make the soul free, but to get rid of the bondages. The sun is covered by layers of clouds, but remains unaffected by them. The work of the wind is to drive the clouds away, and the more the clouds disappear, the more the light of the sun appears.
So here, this example is a wonderful example. As of now, for us, whole is very small. That is why we cannot see. And the purpose of all the exercises, spiritual exercises like doing japa, meditation, and charity, even whatever you say, it is to remove all the obstacles. Then it will shine, the self will shine in its own glory. Swe mahimne pratishtita. It will shine in its own glory. It is already shining. Lion never became a lamb. It was misunderstanding by the lion. That misunderstandings must go. As of now also we are absolute, but we think we are limited. We are body-mind. So this removal of this idea is the goal. That means we have to remove this, then it will shine by itself. Now here we are in this section where this is being discussed. Now why this section is? This is Jivan Mukti. What is the signs and symptoms of Jivan Mukta? What is the meaning of Jivan Mukta? Who is free while living? Who is free while living? So that means two conditions are there. That still he is living, but he is free. So we give example of a wheel which was in momentum, and when it is detached from the vehicle, still it runs for a while and then it stops. Now this is the situation. In Gita also we find the signs and symptoms of Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna means a person whose prajna is stable. Prajna means who is wisdom, who is established in his own wisdom. That means he is not swayed away by the vagaries of nature or whatever is surrounding. Now, why it is required? It is required because Shankaracharya says, Sarvatraiva hi Adhyatma Shastra. In all spiritual scriptures, the signs and symptoms of realized soul is given. Sarvatraiva hi Adhyatma Shastra, Kritartha Lakshanani Yani, Sadhanani Bhavanti Tani. Yatna Sadhyatva. Why? Those are the thing that is to be pursued, that is to be practiced. Whatever is Kritartha Lakshanani Yani, Tani Eva Sadhanani Upadishyante. So these are being preached. What is the signs and symptoms of a realized soul who is still living? Why? Yatna Sadhyatvat. So that we try with utmost care. So this is the purpose. Now, there are two situations. Vedanta is very precise, and it does not want to compromise with anything. But there is another kind of Vedanta where Upanishad, where it says, Ishavasyam idagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Whatever is there, cover all this by God Himself. Because since we have idea of body, we cannot get rid of. And we have sense of this world, we cannot get rid of. Therefore, what is to be done? Ishavasyam, it is to be covered by God. God is manifesting in so many forms. It is called deification. Ishavasyam idagam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Tena tyaktena bhunjita. So how to live in this world? By offering everything to God, you can have whatever is essential for your living. Tena taktena bhunjita magudha kasya siddhanam. You should not be greedy, because whose resources are these? That means it is not your resources, it remains here. Not to be greedy, not to be hoarding it. So, this is the situation. One, but Vedanta, like Advaita Vedanta, it doesn't want to see anything which is obstructing. That we can say, those who have not reached yet, for them, that is the idea. Even one can desire to live long, say 100 years. Jiji Vishet Shatagam Sama. One can desire to live here for 100 years. A good living, a living full of bliss. Now, for us, what is to be done? Swamiji says, now let me quote Swamiji. Swamiji says, if a man plunges headlong into foolish luxuries of the world without knowing the truth, he has missed his footing. He cannot reach the goal because he is denying like his real self. So he has entered in luxuries. So he forgets himself. So cannot reach the goal. And if a man curses the world, goes into forest, mortifies his flesh, and kills himself little by starvation, makes his heart a barren waste, kills out all feelings, and becomes harsh, stern, and dried up, that man also has missed the way. These are the two extremes. The two mistakes at either end. Both have lost the way, both have missed the goal. Now, this is what Swamiji said. So what Sri Ramakrishna says, very important, because before we go, we should understand this. We read this today. So M asked, when one sees God, does one see him with these eyes? Sri Ramakrishna says, God cannot be seen with these physical eyes. In the course of spiritual discipline, one gets a love body. So, by that, we are to see God with our love and purification. But this is not possible without intense love of God. One sees nothing but God everywhere. When one loves Him with great intensity, it is like a person with jaundice who sees everything yellow. Then one feels, I am verily He. A drunkard deeply intoxicated says, verily I am Kali. So it is like totally merged in it. So this is this. Even Sri Ramakrishna had experienced this. He even forgot this whole world. A drunkard deeply intoxicated, one who thinks of God day and night, beholds him everywhere. It is like a man seeing flames on all sides. After he has gazed flame fixedly at one flame for some time. But that is not the real flame. Flashed through M's mind. M thought, that's not real, because it is only apparent. Immediately, Sri Ramakrishna says, Sri Ramakrishna, who could read a man's inmost thought, said, one does not lose consciousness by thinking of him who is all spirit, all consciousness. So when one thinks of consciousness, one becomes that. So this is the situation. It is through God's grace that one understands this. But one need not fear anything if one has received the grace of God. It is rather easy for child to stumble if he holds his father's hand. It is rather easy for a child to stumble if he holds his father's hand. Sri Ramakrishna gives example for us ordinary people. So says that if a child holds father's hand, he can fall. But there can be no such fear if the father holds the child's hand. So what we have to do, we have to submit ourselves to God, so that God holds our hand. And therefore the chances of falling will not be there. So this is, and then Sri Ramakrishna also says that one should propitiate the Divine Mother. So the master continued, one must propitiate the Divine Mother, the primal energy, in order to obtain God's grace. God himself is Mahamaya, who deludes the world with her illusion and conjures up the magic of creation, preservation and destruction. So now clear that we are to submit ourselves to God, so that the chances of our falling will not be there. So now let us go back to our text. Now here two shlokas are given. Brahmalokas Trinikaro Vairagyasya Avadhir Mataha. So what is the mata? What is how much vairagya one should inculcate? The height of detachment is such a conviction of the futility of all desires that one considers like straw even the highest pleasures of the world of Brahma, that means creator. And the height of spiritual knowledge is reached when one feels one's identity with the Supreme Self as firmly as the ordinary man instinctively feels his identity with the physical body. So as of now, we have idea that I am body mind. So this is natural in us. But a Jivan Mukta will naturally understand that he is free. This is his instinct. That means that will be his natural tendency. Let us go back to Shankaracharya, what Shankaracharya says, that in all scriptures, the Kritartha Laksha, that means whatever is to be achieved, that signs and symptoms is given, so that we strive for it. So the goal is to have this idea that I am free. So this, to attain this goal, the height of withdrawal from action is the complete forgetfulness of all worldly affairs in the working state as in the state of deep sleep. See, as in the deep sleep, we forget this whole world. Similarly, when one attains that state, then there is no place for any aberration. Like if a person reaches sun, there is no darkness. So this is the height of that vairagya. One should have that. But then we see various kinds of Jivan Mukta. It is because of their prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma, still that prarabdha karma remains, and because of that karma, one may manifest differently. Arabdha nanatvat buddhanam anyatha anyatha. Anyway, we have gone, we have discussed a lot about it. Now let us go back to, what is the shloka? 4 to 7. Now what is the shloka?
I have it on 426 or 427.
Okay, 26. Sthita Pragya. Now, our Acharya Shankara is explaining what is the signs and symptoms of a Sthita Pragya, whose wisdom is stable. Wisdom is stable. We have studied in Bhagavad Gita also, but here what let us go as it is stated here. Sthita Pragya yatihi ayam. So what is he? He is a yatanashila. That means still he is trying. Or the aspirant. Sthita Pragya yatihi ayam. Yaha sadanandam ashnute. So he attains the bliss, the state of bliss. He is no more struggling because he has reached that state. Brahmanaiva vilinatma nirvikaro vinishkriyaha. Just now, as I quoted from Panchadashi, Chitradeep, that in that state, he has merged himself in Brahman. So he has no other aberration, no deflection. Brahmanaiva vilinatma nirvikaraha vinishkriyaha. So Sthita Pragya, that's the Lakshana. Let me translate also. That sannyasin has got a steady illumination, who having his soul wholly merged in Brahman, enjoys eternal bliss, is changeless and free from activity. As just now, as Swamiji said, that his screen has disappeared. Now he can see the whole scenario unobstructed. As Sri Ramakrishna says, that like a drunkard was taken liquor so much that he forgot that what he is. He says, I am Kali. He declares, because he was thinking of Kali and he was drinking. So he identifies himself with Kali. Similarly, we see in Bhagavata also, where the cowherd girls, they were so merged in the thought of Sri Krishna, they started saying that I am Krishna. So that identification comes. It is not an illusion, rather a lion who was behaving as a lamb identifies oneself, no, I am no more lamb. I am the lion. Even he forgets that he was a lion, he was a lamb. So that state is Sthita Pragya. And we have given enough examples. Now we go to the next. Brahmatmana. Now our Acharya defines what is pragya, what is wisdom, and what is that state where one is stable there. So what is pragya and who is Sthita Pragya? Brahmatmanaha shodhitayo. Now Brahma and Atma, like this self, individual self and universal self. Tat and Tvam. Tat, that, and Tvam, yourself. Aham and Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. So these two are to be purified. What is purification? It's called Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana. As we give example, oh, this is the same, say, Joshua, which I saw 20 years back. 20 years back, he was a small child. We don't take that one. Now he's a big man with a mustache, but that time it was not there. So what we do, we mentally deduct all these things. And we see the person. That's why we say, oh, it's the same David or same John, whom I saw, say, 10 years back, 15 years back. Similarly, this is called Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana. So this way, one has to purify. That means one has to cultivate this thought that I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am the self. And the real self is one with the divine self, the universal self. Tat and Tvam, these two are to be purified. And what is the next? And Shuddha Brahma. And so these two are to be purified first. And these two are one. When purification happens, no screen is left. Then one sees that it is one with the divine, and all the doubts should go. What are the doubts? First, we don't think about it. And then if we think, then it we think that it is not possible. So first is asambhavana. There is no sambhavana. And even if that thought comes, the thought comes in a different way. That is viparit bhavana. So abhavana va viparit bhavana and asambhavana. So first, we don't think about our higher nature. When we think in a different way, that I am a body, I am a mind, all kinds of viparit bhavana. And if some says, no, you're not body. When Guru says you're not body, you're not mind, you are the self. Like that lion, you're not lamb, you're a lion. So they say, no, I am a lamb. How can I be a lion? So this is called viparit bhavana and vipratipatti. Even we understand, but even we have doubts. So even we have no confidence. So all kinds of doubts should go. And not only that, one should be wholly established in the self, in the consciousness. Chit ekanistha. So when someone has purified oneself of all doubts, and one unifies oneself with the divine self, and is established in bliss, so that is called prajna. That is called prajna. And a person, susthitaso, who is well established in it, that is called sthita prajna. Bhavet yasya sthita prajna sa uchyate. So let me read the translation, then it will be clear. That kind of mental function which cognizes only the identity of self and Brahman, Tat and Tvam. Here we are devotees. One should identify, merge oneself in one's chosen ideal. One should merge oneself in one's chosen ideal. totally submit oneself in the chosen ideal. So this misunderstanding that I am body mind will go. So identity with self, identity of the self and Brahman, purified of all adjuncts, all limiting adjuncts, which is free from duality and which concerns itself only with pure intelligence. Here, pure Atman, pure self, as Sri Ramakrishna said, pure self, pure mind, pure intellect is one and the same. Shuddha Man, Shuddha Buddhi, and Shuddha Atma, ek, one and the same thing. So, such a person, when one is totally poised in it, totally established in this, so such a person is called Sthita Prajna. Now, next we go to the next one. Yasya sthita bhavet prajna, yasya anando nirantaraha, prapancho vismrita prayaha, sa jivan mukta ishyat. Now, prapancha means this world, almost he has forgotten. Why it is almost? Because still some behavior pattern is seen in Jivan Mukta. That is why. So Jivan Mukta means still he is living. As we see in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. He says, I enjoy like a child. Khaidai or majaluti. So it is not a slavery, rather it is mirth and happiness and bliss. It is a marketplace of joy. So he whose illumination is steady, who has constant bliss, and who has almost forgotten the phenomenal universe. Even Sri Ramakrishna would go to Samadhi time and again, and then he would request Mother, Mother, don't give Samadhi. I want to enjoy your company. I want to enjoy singing your divine name. So this way he would bring his mind back to this world. So for Sri Ramakrishna, it was like that. For us, we are to try to be one with him. So, who has almost forgotten the phenomenal universe is accepted as a man liberated in this very life. Now, what we have to do? We see this world. As of now, we cannot deny. So Sri Ramakrishna used to pray to Sri Ramakrishna used to pray to the Divine Mother. Oh Mother, Roshe Boshe Rekho. That means you keep me as you wish. In rush and bosh. Rush means like a little enjoyment, but under your control. That means we are to submit to Sri Ramakrishna, and as we were discussing that Ishavasya Midagam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. What we have to do, we have to cover this whole world by the presence of God. Ishavasya Midagam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita, and offering everything to him. Whatever is prasad that can be taken. That means, in short, deification. But we should not forget this world is temporary. It is not our permanent abode. It is only seeming. It is only on the surface. In reality, this is not world. The divine everywhere. So as Swamiji also said this, Swami said, so what says the Vedanta, putting God in everything and knowing him to be in everything, work incessantly, holding life as something deified, as God Himself, and knowing that this is all we have to do. This is all we should ask for. God is in everything. Where else shall we go to find Him? He is already in every work, in every thought, in every feeling. Thus knowing we must work, this is the only way, there is no other. That means we are not to abandon this. Only we are to feel that God alone is. There is no enemy. There is no friend. It is God only. Why I said there is no friend? Because we get infatuated. We are not to be infatuated. One should feel I am one with my chosen ideal. So it is beyond infatuation. It is only being. That is the point. So now we go to next.
I can ask a question.
Yes, please. Okay.
Okay, I'm referring back to what you just said, where you said that work is the only thing. Hang on, let me get the light better. Feeling
Yes,
God
yes.
only, not as a friend or an enemy. Is that correct? What you just said?
Friend means what I said, I explained that. Friend means we get infatuated.
All right, infatuation, like Ragadesha.
Yeah, Ragadvesha. That's right.
Okay.
You know, it is one. Whom I say enemy, he's also me. Whom I say he's a friend, he's also me. So one cannot be his own enemy or friend. One's mind can be one's enemy or friend. But I am. There is unity. Any relationship happens when there is differentiation.
Mhm.
As in the beginning, Swamiji also said that everything happens because of differentiation.
Right.
So, okay, to start with, we can think that everybody's our friend. To start with, that's fine. But that is not the goal. Goal is to unify ourselves. Even God is not there. God is here. That's why in that shloka, what is prajna? Shankaracharya says that one should purify whatever is differentiating adjuncts, like tat and tvam. Tat means there. Let God be there. What business do we have with him? No. He is our real self. So tat and tvam shodhana. Shodhana means we have to purify tat padartha and tvam padartha. That means that padartha, that means God is not different. I am united with God. So that is prajna. That's why even enemy and friendship happens because of two entities, two identifications. That also should go. There are no two. Neha nanasti kinchana. Here there are no two. This is Advaita.
Non-dual.
Pardon?
Non-dual. I'm sorry.
Non-dual. There is no two. Therefore there is no enemy. Nobody is against me. And nobody is for me. Because it is all one. Okay. Okay, we go to the next. Right? Now, the next is Leena Dhirapi Jagarti Yo Jagrat Dharma Varjita Bodho Nirvasano Yasya Sajivan Mukta Ishyati. So one is wide awake as Sri Ramakrishna would say, Joge, Jage, Jege Achi. That means in yoga, I am wide awake. And in my yajna means in my day-to-day working also, I am wide awake. So one should be awake. Brahmakara, that means I am Brahman and nothing else. So that the translation is, he who even having his mind merged in Brahman is nevertheless quite alert. So he's not a fool, like one goes into dreamless sleep. If one is fool, he comes back as fool, but he's wide awake that I am consciousness itself. I am my chosen ideal himself. So chosen ideal is full of consciousness, full of effulgence. He is conscious himself. There is no darkness there. So one should be alert about it, but free at the same time from the characteristics of the waking state, and whose realization is free from desires. So this, while awake, we are to see that unity. There are not many. Is accepted as the man liberated in life. Leena dhirapi. Though he has merged his intellect in his chosen ideal, but he is not sleeping. He's wide awake. He's conscious about it. That I am the self. I am my chosen ideal. Bodha nivasano nirvasano. And he has no desire for himself. Sri Ramakrishna, it's not for him. Sri Ramakrishna, only what he acted for the Divine Mother. And that also we see from a distance. We see as if he is working, but in reality, he is not even working. Karmanya karmaya pashyet akarmani cha karmaya sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta krishna karma krit. As if he was working, as if he lived jatavan iva, dehavan iva, as if he lived, as if he has a body, but he has no identity with it. Sri Ramakrishna gives example, like a coconut, when it is ripe, it is detached from the shell, then it makes a sound, khat, khat, khat. Similarly, one is totally detached from this body-mind complex. Nirvasano yasya sa jivan mukta ishyate. That person is jivan mukta. So as of now, we need to know this. Why we need to know? Then only we'll practice. If we know what is the goal, then we can proceed on to achieve that goal. But if we don't know where is the goal, how can one even initiate first step? He will not. So we'll take another one. Shantas samsara kalanaha kalavan api nishkalaha yasya chittam vinushchintam sa jivan mukta ishyati. Now another definition. Let me first read the translation. He who cares about the phenomenal state have been appeased. That means he has no desire to fulfill, but everything happens by the will of God. Though possessed of a body consisting of parts, is yet devoid of parts. So apparently he has body-mind complex and everything is there. Sri Ramakrishna would have even spice, that little holder, spice holder. And he would have his shirt also. And though he would say it is not buttoned, so will Vidyasagar mind it? Then M says, don't worry about it. Nothing will affect you. So such a state of thing is called Jivan Mukta, or such a person is called Jivan Mukta. Though possessed of a body consisting of parts, is yet devoid of parts, and whose mind is free from anxiety, is accepted as a man liberated in life. Raga Dvesha Vijuktestu Vishayan Indriyaschanan. So he interacts with this world without attachment and aversion. So he interacts, but without any infatuation and without any hating. So such is the person. We have already studied in Gita, Dukheshu Anudvignamanas Sukheshu Vigatas Priya Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Stadi Muni Ruchate. You know, calamities might come, but he's not affected. Dukheshu Anudvignamanas. What we do? We wail and howl and shout and everything. He's not. You know, once it happened, Sri Ramakrishna was at the Kashipur, and Hari Maharaj came, Swami Turiyananda. So Sri Ramakrishna said, see, I am suffering so much, etc. Hari Maharaj said, but I see you are full of joy, full of bliss. Then Sri Ramakrishna, this rascal has caught me red-handed. So apparently he is suffering just to show, but in reality he is not suffering. He is not dukheshu anidvignamanas sukheshu vigatas priya. And in good days he is not affected by that also. Vitaraga, attachment and aversion, has gone totally from him. So this is the signs and symptoms of Sthita Prajna. Any other question? Though this is high standard, though this, sorry, go ahead.
Tena tektena bunchita, renounce and enjoy.
No, that's here. Tena taktena bhunjita magrudha kasya siddhanam. That I have explained already. As of now, that is for sadhaka. But this is what the sign and symptoms who has already achieved. That is for sadhakas. Sadhaka means aspirants. That one should interact with this world, covering this whole world by God. And everything to be offered to have, to partake its portion. So it should be offered. Tena tektena, by offering or by sacrificing. One should sacrifice to enjoy. See, it is like this. Mother feeds her child. That gives joy to her. So offering, that means maybe she has only 2 breads, but she gives that, and that is her joy. So it has 2 meaning. That means tena tektena bhunjitha, or after offering everything to God, you can have a little prasad. Yajna shishtasina santo muchyante sarvakil vishay. Whatever is left over of yajna, that can be partaken. That's like prasad. Okay. So anyway, this section is very profound, no doubt. But until or unless we know the goal, how one should proceed to achieve it. That is why we need to know this. So thank you for your patient hearing. Thank you very much. We say our prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. So tomorrow we'll have Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste.